Hey, what's up, guys? Want to welcome you back to another episode of the Black and Mild podcast. Man, I'm excited to be here with you today. I am joined, as always, by the one, the only. Man just got off an airplane. I mean, that's how much he's committed to the Black and Mild. Just got off a plane and came right here. The one and only, Mr. Ira Chaffel. Ira, what's happening, man?
Good, man. I'm glad to be back in Tally and glad to be here with you guys.
There we go. Ira's in the big city, Oklahoma, right?
Oklahoma City,
big city.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a big city. I'm not sure how there's an NBA team there. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
but they got one, and no, it was a good time. And Florida State, covering Florida State softball.
Yep.
They made it to the national championship game. Came up a little short.
Yeah,
but it's pretty cool. 2 teams left in the country, and they were one of them. So it was a good time.
Yeah, it has been a good year for, especially for Florida State athletics. And we are joined by someone new to the team. This is our second game out. Hey, don't shoot no air balls this game, but no. But you guys, listen. Of all the stuff that I got about our first episode, people were really hyped. I got a few texts about Bree being on that. They were all like, "Man, who is Bree? For 21 years old, she's super impressive." That's what I got. You know what I'm saying? And so we have Brianna Clark. Bree, what's up?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Those were just the texts I sent him.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Now that's my aired out. That's going to be my aired out.
There we go. And today, guys, we are really excited. We have a very, very special guest with us. I mean, something that we all been trying to figure out. I think everybody's figuring out. I've got a good friend of mine, Mr. Vincent Hunt. Vincent is, again, honestly, one of the most creative individuals that I actually know. I always tell people, again, I dabble a lot in entrepreneurial spaces, think about a lot of creative things, but whenever I get around Vince, it's like, man, I kind of remind to the old movie Spaceballs when they had to put the fuel inside, you know what I'm saying? And it just took off. That's what happened when I get around Vince. My creativity goes to a new level. But Vince Hunt is really into this idea of virtual, really acquisitions, this whole thing today. We're going to be talking about NFTs and cryptocurrency and all the stuff today. And he is very heavy in that space and doing some incredible things with digital real estate. And so a lot of stuff that everyone's been talking about but have no idea it's about. And so, Vince, man, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here, bro, for real.
Glad to be here. So, well, guys, hey, I want to just encourage you. Don't forget, again, make sure you you write us a review. Listen, we actually read the reviews. And you know what? Every now and then we may read one of those reviews. And like we always say, give us 5 stars, no 1 stars here on the pod, you know. Maybe it feels better. You know what I'm saying? It feels, it's real open. It feels better right now. We ain't got Corey here today. You know what I'm saying? So we ride over. Hey, shout out to Corey Simon. He's doing some good work today. So, but guys, you know what it is. It's our favorite time of the podcast of Air It Out. And so Air It Out, this is what it's all about, man. We are here. Whatever's we want to get off our chest today, we're going to do it. So, Bree, we're going to start with you today. Ladies first, Bree, what you want to air out today?
Okay, so mine is for all the Gen Z, all the college students who moved from Miami, Central Florida to Tallahassee, who have nowhere to shop in Tallahassee because the mall is awful. It is awful. Wow. So what do you do when you can't online shop because you want it in your hands right now? You can't go anywhere except a boutique for $100 a shirt.
So you are upset because you feel like there's not a great way to shop, right? It's not a great place to shop here in Tallahassee.
Right.
I mean, because, you are coming from the big city of Polk County. You know what I'm saying? It's a big shopping.
I was 45 minutes from Orlando, 45 minutes from Tampa. I had some nice places to shop.
What's the one in Orlando, Millennial or whatever? Or is that
Millennia?
Tampa?
Yeah, it's Millennia. Yeah, Mall of Millennia, I think, in
that's
Orlando.
Crazy.
That thing is crazy. I mean, it is. It's
we can't get a Mac store here or an Apple store.
Dude, listen.
Tallahassee?
We can't get a Cheesecake Factory. Let's start there. Like, man, I want a cheesecake.
Gainesville over here, right?
Yeah, they chose Gainesville over. That itself was just disrespectful,
Tough
right?
times. We're coming strong out of the pandemic.
Yeah,
this is all coming back. We're gonna the mall's gonna get their act together.
The mall's that was it.
How long has it been there like that, though?
I know, but that's what I would say, though. But I really do agree, though, is what Bree's saying. I'm like, listen, we have, over 70,000 college students in this city. People come from everywhere. I'm like, listen, that's what I thought they were going to do with the former Tallahassee Mall.
Yeah.
It's actually turned into like an outdoor mall. It's kind of what you have over at in Jacksonville. Why am I blanking on right now? You have a town center in Jacksonville.
Yeah, right.
So you go to Town City. Yep, St. John's Town Center. Man, it's a great place. I'm like, you trying to tell me that can't survive here in Tallahassee? And again, I was always wondering why we couldn't do that. But again, I'm with you, Bree. It is. I mean, right now it's just straight online shopping.
Nowhere to get your summer scents.
Nowhere to get summer scent cologne. You know what I'm saying? I'm in my cologne game right now. Nowhere to get Funko Pops. Besides Bucks a Million. So it's one of those things. So I know. But Ira, what you got today, man?
I'm going to give a shout out. I was traveling. I was on the road for about 4 or 5 days, and I'm going to give a shout out to the last remaining hustlers the Uber drivers, the Lyft drivers.
Yeah.
Man, they are out getting after it. I had to catch it. My flight was at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, am I going to be able to get an Uber at 3:30 or 4 a.m?
Yeah.
Sure enough, my man was there. And not only was he there, but he's like, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you change the route from the airport to this restaurant down the street? And I'm like, cuz, what are you going to kidnap me?
Yeah, he's set up.
It was because he had a bonus. They gave an incentive if he did so many rides between a certain amount of time, he could get like $150 bonus. Wow. So but he knew he couldn't get to the airport in time. But if he's like, you could shorten it to here. We ended up not doing it, thankfully, because I was afraid I was going to end up in a dumpster or something. I was like, no, I don't want to turn off this GPS.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't work. But my man also, he was an Uber driver and a Lyft driver.
Okay.
I talked to another Uber driver when I was out there who, during the pandemic, changed to food delivery.
Okay.
And, I just think it's not the hardest work in the world. I'm not going to say that they're sitting in their car.
Yeah.
But those guys are hustling. Those guys and ladies are hustling. And, there's tough times. Some people can't find the work they want or the work they know, or maybe some people love that.
Yep.
But anyway, every time I go on the road, I'm reminded of the hustlers driving the cars, driving people around town.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I shout out to all those out there. Again, Lyft drivers, Uber drivers. Again, I'm telling you, they come through. I mean, when over in the pandemic, I mean, and again, it's a thing. Even though yes, they're not doing all this manual labor, but especially in the middle of a pandemic, I mean, you had to make sure you stayed safe, and you got all these different people in your car and stuff like that. So shout out to everyone over there, with Lyft and Uber who are out there getting it done. Man, mine is this. I want to air out this. Can we get the supply chain situation figured out right now across the globe? Now, some of y'all think this is real deep. No, I want the supply chain. Here's the reason why. This is what it all sparked was this. I love the very berry hibiscus lemonade from Starbucks, all right? And right now in Tallahassee for the last 2 weeks, we ain't got no lemonade. Every time I go, I pull my app up, there's no lemonade. I'm like, what? Why is there no lemonade? So finally, I reached out to a friend of mine who is literally a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, former hedge fund guy, and he deals with supply chains. I'm like, hey, why don't I have lemonade at Starbucks right now? And then I started looking up articles. So I'm going to get back to him. I looked up articles. And it's like, I mean, listen, I'm giving you, I'm getting this off my chest, but I'm not saying, but there are people who are airing Starbucks out. I mean, they are going crazy. I mean, people who are literally, we're never going back. You don't have oat milk anymore. I'm like, dude, but I get it. But it is a little bit frustrating. So I call my friend. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he starts running through. I mean, literally, I texted him at 10 o'clock last night. Why do we have such a supply chain issue right now across the globe? And he just laid it out. He was like, man, pandemic. There wasn't a lot of workers. These factories were shut down. He's like, then on top of the factories being shut down, then we had the Suez Canal situation where it was for 6 days. That's never happened, where 12% of goods actually come through there. And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, is it going to get? He's like, nah, man. He's like, I don't think it's going to get. He's like, it's probably not going to get any better until like January or March, between January and March of next year. And then you think about that, lumber, steel prices right now. Had a friend of mine who had a building he was building. Got a steel quote pre-COVID, $400,000. His steel quote now was $1.2 million in steel. I'm like, are they putting vibranium in the steel now? It's still normal. You know what I'm saying? It's still normal, but it's not. But again, I joke about it, but man, I don't think sometimes people, the supply chain issue. And on top of that, there's so much cash in the market right now that there's just people are spending money. So the demand is high. And also companies don't want to have a lot of stuff sitting in there. So it's just on demand. Hey, you sitting there, but now we've gotten backed up, and so it all started. Listen, I just want Starbucks to have the lemonade. That's what I was
going to say. I'm worried about worried about your guy with the steel with $1 million in steel. I'm worried about you and your lemonade.
That's what I'm saying. That's what my lemonade. But you see how I played out. I was like, I'm literally going to Starbucks. And, listen, I'm not trying to be that guy. I walk in Starbucks. I'm like, hey, they're like, oh no, we're really sorry, we don't have it. And then what really gets me is when the app's not correct and I order it. It happens like 4 times. I'm like, oh, they got it. So I go. It's like Christmas morning, thinking you get a pair of Jordans, and you got a pair of Shaq shoes. You show up there like, well, hey, then they say, can we just get you without lemonade? I'm like, no, I don't want colorful water. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's all that is without lemonade is colorful water. So anyway, Starbucks, I love you. Let me know what a brother can do. If I need to jump in my car to go grab the lemonade from somewhere, I'm on the way. So anyway, well, guys, we are excited to talk today of everything cryptocurrencies and NFTs, as we mentioned, with our good friend Vincent Hunt. And so, Vince, man, we're just going to start off with this. Just starting this. What the heck is an NFT? You know what I mean? Again, I'm pretty up to date on stuff, but when I first started like diving into stuff, I felt like an idiot. I was like, I still can't figure it out. Whenever I talk to people, me and Iris, they were like, we don't understand. What is this?
Adrian was educating me about it, so you know how far behind I am.
Yeah, it's the blind leading the blind on this one, trying to figure it out. So, Vince, can you explain to people in a very simple way, what actually are NFTs?
I'm going to kind of spin this around because I can give you a very, very simple definition of what NFTs are, but what do you guys think they are? Let's start off there. Let's get a blueprint of what you think they are first. Let's just start there.
All right, we'll start with you because I kind of know now, so I'm going to let you start with you.
There's a lot of misconceptions.
He's going to put me on the spot.
Yeah.
My impression is that, it's an original recording. I was just thinking in the art space, it's like if a musician made a track and here's the original track on digital, you can sell that to someone and they own it and nobody else can buy it. But my problem with it, and that's my limited understanding of it. But my problem with it is okay, great. If I know I own it, that's great for me. But nobody else can see that I own it, or nobody else can know that I own it, or I could just say I did. But what about some other guy saying he owns it, or some other? So that's where I'm confused. I mean, conceptually, a piece of art, you could actually own the digital version of that art, the original. But conceptually, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around what that actually means. So that's where I'm lost. I've read explanations of it, and I think I'm in the ballpark.
Yep.
But I have it's once you get over a certain age, man, your mind doesn't. It's it's easy to learn languages when you're younger.
Yeah.
I think as you get older, some of these things are harder to understand.
Got you.
Yeah, and I would say this. I mean, again, I want to echo what Iris said. I mean, some of the smartest guys I listen to, who are in the market, who have sold, bought companies, who invest, and they're in their mid-50s, and they're even talking about they have really big podcasts, and they were saying the same thing. They're like, it didn't make me feel as bad. They were like, I'm still trying to figure out this cryptocurrency thing, right? And NFTs, they're all we just, and so it's been a hard thing. I mean, for me, how I see NFTs are simply this, or just, I think I just see them as kind of digital assets, right? They're digital assets. So if I have I have a hard asset here physically, so a book is a hard asset. So I think an NFT will be a digital one. I have a digital asset. It's something that may not be a physical copy, but it's a digital copy. That's kind of how I see NFTs.
Yep. What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely echo Adrian. I think the best example I've heard was whenever people talk about Fortnite and skins. So you buy skins on Fortnite, and then a lot of times the argument is, why would I buy something digitally if it has no effect in person? Then it's I want to look cool. So if I'm on Fortnite, I want to buy this skin because other people can see it, and I want to look cool. And that makes sense to me because I feel like the concept of my generation a lot of time is that I'm going to buy these shoes because I like the way they look and I like the way it makes other people perceive me.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah, my son. Yeah, shout out to Fortnite for taking him my money. I'm also, Dad, I need some money to buy some. Hitting it hard for some V-Bucks. I'm like, man, what are we buying? Man, Travis Scott's throwing a concert. I'm like, really? I'm about to go watch Travis Scott in the concert. And then I'm fully that parent now. Who grows by that. You are spending all your time watching another dude play video games. And it's and then what happens? I end up being the dad in there watching my son watch another guy play video games. I'm fully in there. So anyway. So Vince, go ahead. Tell us where we wrong, where we're at, and tell us what NFTs are.
So NFTs, and let me address this real quick. So with each one of you, you understand what an NFT is. It's a digital asset that's unique in its nature, and that's where its value rests. What you're really struggling with is, why would you do that, right? And the reason why you're struggling with why would you do that, because we've been in a physical world for so long. So for instance, if I go get a pair of Jordans, I can put them on my feet, and the way that I flex is when I go somewhere, he got the new Jordans.
Yeah. Yep.
If I buy them digitally, I can't flex that way, can I? I can't put them on and go somewhere physically and show them, right? So that's where the confusion comes in, because we're used to having physical things. And there's value in having a physical thing, whether it be a car, house, shoes, whatever. And we have intrinsic value in those things, no matter what the value may be. So for instance, we know that Jordans, you could probably get a pair for $250.
Yeah.
Right? But once you buy them and you've got them and they're sold out, you could sell that same pair for $2,000.
Yeah.
Right? It's that. We're used to that. What we're not used to is when things don't exist in the physical context. So you guys know what NFTs are because you guys gave really strong definitions of what the NFT is. You're wrestling with why would somebody do it.
Yeah.
So let's break down what an NFT is. A non-fungible token, or NFT, is just that. It's something that's unique in the earth. A good example of this would be, you like Jay-Z. I know you like Jay-Z, Adrian.
Yep.
Right? This is going to bring it home real quick, real fast.
Good.
If Jay-Z went in the lab today and cut a whole album,
Okay.
and he said, I'm only releasing 100 of these albums as an NFT, digital, would you buy it?
If I could afford it, yeah. And I probably would have said, I probably would think about selling one of my children for it too.
And look, and sell a kid too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and put him up for ransom. So here's the thing. Kidnapping, please. Here's the thing. You instantly understood the value because you believe in the artist Jay-Z.
Yep.
Something that he creates. He mints it as an NFT.
Okay.
He then sells only 100 copies of it, and you want one. The way you're going to flex is when I come over to the house, you're going to have it bang. You'll be like, you know who that is? I'm going to be like, you got that Jay-Z.
Right.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So imagine this, walking into a house and there's digital artworks on the wall, and when you look at it, you be like, oh, that's a Banksy, digital, in a digital frame, right? That's how I'm flexing that way.
A digital frame. What's a digital frame?
Yeah, so a digital frame, your TV. Like, let's just say I take a 65 inch, like, let's say I purchase a piece of digital art from a well-known artist, and I put it on my 65-inch screen plasma, and it's on the wall, killing it. And when you come and you like, that's sick. And I'm like, yeah, I own that, right?
Okay. Okay.
Is it starting to click?
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So these digital assets, again, where people are struggling is digital. So I can't flex it, like lace it up and take it outside and flex it, right? So as soon as you get beyond that, it all starts to make sense. So a digital asset or NFT or a non-fungible token is something that's unique. Another thing that makes it unique is it's actually minted to the blockchain. And do you guys understand how the blockchain works?
You have to break that down because I think some people start getting the blockchain, and
that's what keeps it secure, right? But,
that's
but
what keeps it secure.
I don't understand how it keeps it secure. I just understand that
it's encrypted onto the blockchain, and at the exact same time, it proves its authenticity. And the best way to kind of like give you the visual representation of that. So, for instance, if I take this bottle of water, right, and I give it to you, and you say, "That's a bottle of water," say it.
That's a bottle of water.
When I get it, I say, "It's a bottle of water."
It's a bottle of water.
It's a bottle of water.
So now the blockchain understands, based on the verification from all these people saying it is this thing, it's authentically a what?
Bottle of water.
That's blockchain.
So it's blockchain. So I remember one time me and you were talking about this. Is blockchain like? Is it like a ledger? So it's like a ledger. So it'd be like if you're in the middle of like a town. And if a town had like a ledger in the middle of town, and someone owned this real estate, you go to it, and let's say somebody owned the house. Oh, such and such owns this house, on 1515 Mulberry Road, and it's on this ledger. And so it's very much so you see very hard. This is the person who owns this.
And you cannot deny that. And we know that it's 3 stories. We know it has this, it has that, because it's been confirmed, and it is in that ledger, and that's it, right? So that does secure it, and it also like proves its authenticity.
So that would help. So because then I guess the next question I would ask, and I want you guys to chime in, like, so with that, does that mean somebody has a digital piece of art, but the whole thing's like, well, you can just go, like say it's a song or music or whatever. Like, can somebody go just copy it? You know what I'm saying? Can you go copy?
Well, that's what I was going to say when you were talking about that artwork. That sounded great, except when I walk up with my iPhone and I take a picture of it, and I creep to my house and I try to put it up on my, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but at the end of the day, you can't, if you go try to resell that, it's not sitting on the blockchain, that thing that you got. So therefore, its authenticity ain't real. That's just like somebody buying a bootleg pair of Jordans, right?
Or like a something,
bootleg,
or like a Mona Lisa. Somebody like,
bootleg.
I got the Mona Lisa at the crib.
They're like, that ain't real. So it has no value. So you can do that all day long, but because it's not the original thing, and because everything, again, we go back to that blockchain, because everything can be verified on the blockchain. Like any digital assets that you own are sitting in your digital wallet on the blockchain, and you can show it.
But so
I own that on the ledger.
Yeah.
Do you? I guess my question is like, are artists going to start limiting, like you talked about the supplies, only put out 100? Because traditionally with mass media, it's get it out to as many people as will buy it. Find that price where as many people will buy it as you can buy it, whether it was DVDs or CDs or cassette tapes back in the day. Are they going to start limiting the number of digital copies they release. No.
I don't think so at scale. The thing about it is, like, so for instance, for an artist, so this is another piece of the of NFT, the whole NFT narrative that I super appreciate is the fact that now finally artists can take more control over their artistic career. Where before they didn't really have a lot of control, right? Yeah. So the NFT, another thing that makes it dope is the fact that it has a smart contract attached to it.
Yeah.
So if Jay-Z creates 100 of this album, 100, and he sells 100, now that's not gonna stop him from making other music and selling to the masses. But this one is special. This one is like the Black 2021 album.
Yeah.
And when you get the Black 2021 album, and it's like these 15 songs that can't nobody else have. Another thing that he can build into that, though, is also utility. So we have to think about utility. Because not only are you buying the songs, he may also say, when you buy this NFT, you also unlock tickets to every one of my shows for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
and backstage passes.
Yeah.
How much you paying for that?
That's it. And so I guess that would be the one thing, since you already
it
said
makes it special.
So that's what. So I guess what everybody gets caught up in on is like, hey, NFTs, right? So Beeple sells a digital piece of art for $69 million, right? Yeah. And people are like, that's so stupid, right? Okay, that's fine, And again, I think there's a lot of cash in the market, and I think people are rushing to buy things because they're spending cash. But I heard Mark Cuban and Gary Vee say it this way: was the fact of like what all the NFTs have done. It's more that proving the tech, like what blockchain works, and the fact it's more about the smart contracts. Yeah. Because that's where all the stuff's going to go, because you have it for a long period of time. So now all of a sudden, and that's when I heard that part, I was like, okay, I'm starting to get it now. Because it's like, cause I'm like, okay, it's fine. Because, you want to stunt in the digital world, that's fine. In which I think we should probably go there in a minute about like what the future could look like. But I also think the big thing is just the smart contracts that are tied to it. Because now what you're saying, if Ira, again, as a great writer, Ira writes an article and he says, hey, I'm going to release this article. Let's say he has a, honestly, Ira, this may be an idea for you right here. Ira gets like an exclusive, an exclusive Coach Bowden or some like interview or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And Ira says, hey, I'm only releasing this. I'm releasing this article to 50 people who can just get this article, this in-depth thing, maybe one of the last articles Coach Bowden will do or something like that, and you're able to get it. Now it's like, oh, I'm selling this now as an NFT. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, oh, because Ira already has a platform on Twitter and things like that, he can say, hey, anybody want to do it? This is what it's going to be to kind of get this final article, da-da-da. And now these people own this rare article. So once I saw that, I'm like, and then they can own it for a certain amount of time.
If they want to.
And then they can turn around and they can sell it if they want to. And see, once I heard that, I'm like, okay, see, that's where the tech is about. It's about now you can put contracts on top of things. And that's when it started making sense to me, because it didn't make sense to me just, okay, we buy this, stunt in the digital world. I'm like, okay, but where's that go? But now that I see the smart contracts to it, I'm like, oh, that's what makes sense. Yeah.
But see, even like, yes, 100%. But think about another layer so before what would happen is, you would sell it, and then once it got out your hands, that's it. Yeah. You got one check. That's it. One check, one deal. But what you wrote into this smart contract is royalties. So now every time that it's sold, every time it transfers hands to another collector that wants some Bowden memorabilia, right? Every time that happens, you get paid. You write that right into the smart contract. Whether it be a 5% take every time it happens. So imagine if you sell it for, let's just say, $50,000, right? The next person holds it, it becomes even more valuable in time.
Yep.
Then it sells for $1 million. You're getting 5% of that $1 million. So it's the smart contract that sits in the undercurrent. And it's authentic because that thing is sitting on. You see what I'm saying? So that's the beauty of it. So now creatives have more power to control, or have a more creative control over the work that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we jump into it, I want you to define one more thing. What is cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrencies, that's like, we've been dealing with cryptocurrencies now for some years, right? Like when you think about like Bitcoins and all these other coins, that's the basically the token of transaction are the actual coins themselves, right? So if I have, like, let's just say Bitcoin, I remember I have a friend of mine, I'll never forget this, it's like a nightmare, so I got to share it publicly, so maybe I can like let myself go from it.
Yeah, you can get healed.
I can finally let it go because it haunts me every night, you know what I mean? Like, he actually purchased 6 Bitcoins at $500 each, and I thought he was out of his mind.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Now, I'm not talking about fractions of the Bitcoin. I'm talking about a whole Bitcoin, right? For $500. He got 6 of them. $3,000 later. What's one Bitcoin worth today?
Let's look it up.
You can look it up right now.
No.
Oh,
And
my
you
God.
do the math. That's what keeps me woke.
Dude,
That math.
I'm trying to figure it out right now, y'all. I'm coming here. Let me see if it pulls up. Here we go.
Bitcoin is
Oh no! Like, I feel like it's that TikTok. Like, oh no!
What is it?
$36,000, almost $37,000
For one coin.
For one Bitcoin.
And he has 6 of them.
180, 190, something like that.
Yeah.
Just
oh,
200
oh my.
Just,
oh my.
just chilling.
Yeah.
But see, and that, and then so that also brings up a whole nother situation. You have a whole bunch of brand new minted millionaires because of cryptocurrency. Think about like those who bought that same coin, the Bitcoin, for like $5 and got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Got 500 of them. Take that number times 500.
Yeah.
That's real. And there's a bunch of them. And here's the crazy part. You ain't hearing a lot from them right now, are you? The tax implications are ridiculous. So now Puerto Rico is going through a problem. Because you got a lot of people moving over there because they actually have a law that says you can't be taxed on your cryptocurrency. So now there's gentrification that's happening over there because you have all these super rich people that are going over there cashing out.
Man, let me tell you this. The one thing I'm starting to learn, the more and more I get in these spaces with people with a lot of money, I don't know if you guys saw this is a complete, and we can keep moving down this road, about how taxes are avoided. Like, again, it was an article that came out, this research that came out as a big kind of deal that everybody been talking about over the last couple of days about how people, it's like Jeff Bezos, I think it was like from 2011. I can't remember what, it's like 3 or 4 years, like paid no taxes. And when I started realizing, I'm like, dude, they just figure out how to funnel, like they borrow off their stock price. They don't ever cash them out. They borrow off their stock, which you can't tax off the borrow. So I'm like, first I'm like, shout out to figuring it out. You know what I'm saying? Right. But it's that whole idea. The more I feel like you get up there, the more and more you figure ways to, you have the ability to kind of to avoid it, which is sad because then you got everyone else who's going to work, doing their stuff, just getting hit on taxes while you got these dudes.
Blasted.
Yeah, stuff like that. So,
does that answer your question?
Yeah,
it's the token. It's the token of exchange. And there's tons of different types of like cryptocurrencies, right?
Yeah, because you have like Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, ETH, and then you have like Dogecoin. That Elon does.
And then, then some of them, which I call like hype coins, you know what I'm saying, like Doge and Shibu, I think is the Shibu or whatever, that coin popped out, right? Whenever I think about a coin, I think this is good to talk about, is the fact that you got to kind of think about the utility of that coin, right? How is that coin actually being used? What is its utility in the earth?
But you're starting to see. Well, you're starting to see people accept it as payment.
Yep. Absolutely. Especially like Bitcoin, because Bitcoin really didn't have like a very concise utility, but now you have people accepting Bitcoin because now it's known that it can be used as a form of trade. Yep. If that makes sense.
Yep. I guess the next question I'm going to ask is this: is that, and again, it seems. I know the answer, but I want you to explain. Is this here to stay? This idea of, well, actually, more ask this question: why is it here to stay? Why? Because you do such a great job as Vince. Paint for us what the future looks like. Because I think right now, the best way I've heard is like the internet in '94, right? Like, we were all like, man, that thing's dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to put my credit card on the internet. Like,
I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that.
My Social Security number.
But on the flip side, then when everybody got into it, and then the bubble burst, and a lot of people lost a lot.
Yeah, lost a lot.
And then it built back up.
Yeah. But
so
it's like,
that's where I think like people who aren't as familiar with it, they look at it and like, should you chase this, gold coin, this rainbow, or is it too late, or
like what does the world look like of why this is it here to stay, and if it is here to stay, paint the world of what it's going to be.
I truly believe that it's here to stay, and the reason why I say that is because for the very first time, again, what's happening is like if you think about fiat currencies, right? If you think about like the money that we have right now, that was here before we got here. It's been here. It's institutional. It's been here for a long time. Again, people learned how to manipulate it. It's a thing, right? Very, very deep rooted, hundreds and hundreds of years of background, right? Now all of a sudden, a currency comes to the forefront, a system, a decentralized system, where now we got control.
Yep.
We for real got control. Consumers have always wanted control, didn't know how to get control. Now all of a sudden you're figuring out you can get control. I'm gonna give you a small example of this. When you think about like DeFi or a decentralized system, I actually challenged myself when I got deeper into it. Why do I have any money in a bank? Serious, right? if I took my money and put my money, let's just say in Ethereum, in ETH, and let my money grow at the speed that ETH is growing, I'm making far more money off the same money that would be sitting in a central, like a bank, a traditional bank.
Yeah.
I'm making like $100, $200 a day on just my money sitting there. Then, and so with that, and then like the platforms are helping you become decentralized by giving you debit cards just like you would have with a normal bank. All these things. It's just that you have more control and more flexibility over your money. And so I tell people, like, no matter, like, keep your normal traditional bank if you want to feel safe with your traditional bank.
That's the word though, safe.
Yeah.
That's
the thing. It's safe. But the thing about it is, like, from the traditional context, right?
Right.
Even we just saw it hit us just like no more than like a month ago when Elon Musk came out and he was like, we're pulling all of our interest in Bitcoin out. And you saw everything tank and everything was wholesale.
Yeah.
You feel me? I actually put on Facebook and just being funny. I was like, looks like all the crypto's on wholesale now.
Yeah.
Legit. But the thing about, and I went and grabbed some more.
Yeah.
I went and grabbed some more because I knew that even when I grew it, once it fell, grab it, it's still going to go back up. Why? Because consumers, we continue to want to push it, right?
Yep.
So you cannot stop. Once consumer momentum starts, you can't stop that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can hit it.
Yep.
But it's going to jump right back in. It's going to keep going.
Yeah.
So, and they call that hodling, right? Diamond hand. I call it diamond hand hodling, like holding on to your currencies,
Yep.
right? And keeping it growing. Like if you think about it, when I purchased my ETH, I think I got it at 1,000. When it was at like 1,200.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's sitting around 24. Something I haven't looked at it today.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I looked at it as like 24, and again, matter of fact, it was at one point it was like 32, 33 because of
like 45.
Yeah, because of then I know that because I think the big thing that people wrestle with is that now as soon as governments start pushing at like, oh, we're going to tax, as soon as China or us or whoever, we're going to tax this, and everybody, then it's like anything because we live in a very anxiety-filled culture. Everybody's like, oh, man, China's about to tax, so let's get all our money. And then it drops, and it's that same thing right now. But it's definitely still, right now, I looked at it today. I'm like, oh, it's only 24. Last time I looked at it, it was like 30. I think it was like 34. I'm like, oh, it might be time to slide. You know what I'm saying? And go in there but that does make, that makes sense because when you think about the stock market, you think about you look at the market, you're like, it's a lot more volatile.
Right.
But you're also like, but if my money's going to sit there and I got a chance to still use it, versus the market, I put in a stock, I got to go through this, call this person, pull it out, do this. Versus like, if I have a debit card tied to it, I'm like, oh, we need the cash. Yeah. You can get the cash. I think the thing I want to say is that, and ask, like, so the world we're going to, right? Yeah. Is this idea of like, I try to tell people when they ask me, well, why should we buy NFTs or why would you do this? I'm like, I say it's like the movie Ready Player One, right? It's like Ready Player One, where it's like, you have what it's called in there. It's called the Oasis, and right now, Epic Games, Fortnite, they raised $1 billion to create something called the Metaverse, which I think is going to begin this process where there's going to be this whole world that you can go to, that you put on, you put on your virtual reality. I actually bought an Oculus 2 to begin to see what is this whole world about, to go in there. And as you go into that world, that's where people are going to live. Yeah. That they're going to start spending more time there. And that sounds crazy to us, right? We're like, yo, what? Like, I ain't walk around with no headset on. You know what I'm saying? Like an idiot. But I'm telling you, I've gotten into it, and I'm like, oh, it's so immersive. You're like, oh, I get why people want to go here, especially Gen Z, you know what I'm saying? And what's the next generation? Alpha?
Alpha.
Alpha's the next generation that's coming. And so I guess, like, that's where the world's going, right? Yeah. That's what
and, like, the thing about it is I think that, again, we look at things in, like, these absolutes and total takeover ways, but it's not really that. It's about the augmenting of our physical world that we know now. Just like right now, we're all sitting here, we're having these interviews, we're doing the podcast, you got the camera right here. Where'd you just come from?
Oklahoma City.
You just flew in from Oklahoma City. Let's just say I was in Indianapolis, you're right here, and let's just say you down South Florida?
Yeah.
Where'd you come from?
She's from South Florida, man. She's from Lakeland. She's from Lakeland, Florida. Lakeland.
Blessings, you from Lakeland.
So why can't I go to Boca or somewhere else?
Let's just say you in Lakeland right now. We could create this whole scene, the scene that we have right here in VR, and all be sitting here just like this, in our own disparate places, wherever we are, having the same conversation, filming it, giving it to the world. We absolutely could do that. So what I think the pandemic gave us, everybody's like, oh my God, the pandemic. The pandemic was like kind of crushed it kind of forced us into understanding we don't have to be in physical locality to actually get things done. So it's being ushered in, and at the exact same time, the technology is only getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
Even at my companies, what we've started doing is, like, if a client is remote, we send them an Oculus, and we usher them into VR. There's no reason for me to get on a plane and fly to them if I can do whiteboard, like, work with them remotely, for real,
Yeah.
just in VR. So when we say, are we going to be living in VR? There's tons of entertainment inside of VR, right?
Yeah.
Everything from games to, tons of ways to build community, all of that is there. And people are going to do that. And when you think about Ready Player One, all that is going to exist. It's not like, is it or is it not? It is.
Yep.
It's just a matter of it being adopted as we go into it.
Well, when just a few years ago, when augmented reality, the first time I experienced it, and I think a lot of mainstream, was when Pokemon Go came out.
Exactly.
And you go to Lake Ella, and there's 500 people walking around. we're all doing the same thing.
Backpacks with power in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they was going there.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
And like that, and when we see stuff like that, we can't. And here's another thing, like, what's really, really indicative of the future are movies. We saw this in Minority Report, remember? You know what I'm saying? There's been a bunch of movies that are like foretelling you this is coming. This is coming. And now the infrastructure is being built up. In the last WWDC, if you remember, at the end of the last WWDC 21, the one we just had, at the end, it was dedicated to what? Augmented reality. Apple's ramping up. They're investing heavily into the augmented reality space, right? Giving us the tools and the resources that we need to now execute on it, right? In a time where you can get everything all the time, 24/7.
Yep.
We're running out of space, right? So if we can take our digital experiences off screens and put it in the space around us, we got more space, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I got a question for you,
Yeah.
and we can get back to where we were going. But when did you get into this, and how did you get into this?
Oh, wow. That's a super dope question. Oddly enough, I got into it back in 2005.
Wow.
So back in 2005, quick story, 2005, there's a platform called Second Life.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Second Life. So in Second Life, it was crazy to me because as a technologist, always been in web, building web, doing my thing. I go into Second Life, which is an immersive 3D environment where all the citizens of this virtual world creates everything you experience, everything from the buildings to a mountain. You terraform and build mountains as a human, right?
Yep.
So everything that you experience was built by other people, right? So I'm in this world, and it's freaking me out because just like we're sitting right here, again, your avatar is talking to other avatars from all over the world, all day, 24/7. It never sleeps, right? I actually built a digital agency inside of a virtual world and ran a full digital and creating what we would be calling today NFTs. Digital assets that would never leave that world. Everything from buildings where people would sell skins and clothes and shoes for your avatar. They would build these stores, and we would build those stores for them. So branding went beyond logos. It went all the way into storefronts and everything else. This was back in 2005.
Wow.
Then what happened is, and I was preaching back then. I was like, "Oh my God, it's coming! Y'all think social media is dope? This is your mind is gonna be blown." It took me about $2,500 in a month to really wrap my head around it. So I'm in world buying stuff, figuring it out. But then I realized commerce is really going down. My debit card is getting hit. That's real money that's coming out my bank account.
Yeah.
Instead of paying, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, how am I gonna get the money?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna start selling my thing in here, and I did. I created a whole studio called Studio Verso. No, that one's called Satori Spire Studios in world, and we were killing it. We had a team from all over the world doing our thing, and that's how I got introduced to it. So when all this came, right now the new iteration, I'm like, oh, here we go, here we go. Like that was like a seed back then. Now it's really starting to come to fruition, and more people start doing it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Can we talk about virtual real estate? Because a while back you told Michelle about it, it was a website, and we were on it one day. We were on there for hours. We're looking at everything that was bought. And Michelle actually got the Florida Capitol. She bought it. So can you talk about that? Because that was so cool.
Good job. So virtual real estate. So in the space of NFTs. So at the end of the year last year, I created Better, my brand identity web design company, Better. I created that 2018. been running that, doing its thing, and I wanted to create better because I wanted to do, brand identity and web design better for small to medium-sized businesses. So I usually name my businesses after my intention, what I'm trying to do. So at the ripe age of 48, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do one more company, and I'm going to call this company Forever.
Wait a minute, you're 48?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, so yeah, this guy understands all this because he's a young cat. I'm 50.
He's trying to figure out how I'm doing something.
Hey, no, he is that way. I said first time I saw Vince. Oh yeah, and then you talk to Vince. I'm like, you live like 8 lives. You know who Vince is? You know who Vince is? Vince is like, oh my gosh, I was looking at today basketball dude. Vince is like the Derek Favors of like entrepreneurship. Derek Favors, I didn't realize he plays for the Utah Jazz. Derek Favors is 29 years old.
Wow.
I was like this the other day. Somebody's like I'm like, Derek Favors been in the league. I feel like he played with like Shaq. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Shaq when he was Orlando Magic. He's been there forever. He's 29. My man's had a full basketball life. That's I feel like Vince is. When you see me, like, I did this, and that's why I wanted to ask. He was telling me all this stuff. I'm like, brother, how old are you? Like, when you were 5? Like,
I can't use the I'm too old excuse anymore.
No. This is our thing. Like this is our thing. So and it's funny, and again, like if I go back a step, like Second Life, seriously, it's the thing that opened up my thinking to it. You know what I'm saying? I just stayed in it.
Yeah.
I believed it and stayed in it.
Yep.
That's the thing you got to do. And that's why, like, when we first started talking about NFTs, I had you guys give me definitions because you know what it is. Yeah. What you're wrestling with is you've been so conditioned to the physical context of things.
Gotcha. But now I'm intrigued by the digital real estate.
Yeah,
so digital real estate. So this is dope to me. So as I'm doing my research, because now I'm trying to form up what Forever Creative is actually going to be about in the earth, right? NFTs hit me in the face. I'm like, ooh, right? The creative economy, because I always talk about the creative economy and how we are living in the creative economy.
Yep.
It's just that we weren't facilitating the creative economy at scale. You still had some starving artists, right? NFTs represented to me the economic system that would actually like fuel the creative economy. So I'm like, okay, I'm all in. So I started doing research on NFTs, really breaking it down, and asking myself the question, like, would I purchase a piece of digital art? I would purchase a piece of digital art if the artist was well known enough and had a big enough following. There's a whole bunch of factors that come into that. Because if I buy a piece of digital art from an artist that has a very small following, my market is small, right? To resell. Yeah. They haven't built any chops up. Give me an artist that has 1 million followers. I'm buying some from them. The reason why, I know I can resell it in the aftermarket and make more money. Gary Vee just dropped his NFT drops, right? And when he dropped his, it killed it. But the thing that he did, and what he did was he kind of like stood on what he's been preaching about, which is the utility. So you buy the NFT, but it has utility. Come to my conferences for 3-4 years. Frame that. Then all of a sudden I was like, what would I buy as an NFT? So what I realized is now you can actually you can purchase the coordinates, land coordinates, as an NFT, right? We all know what land coordinates are. And if you own that land coordinate, right, you actually have rights to the digital domain within that land coordinate. So if you imagine a 100 by 100 foot square, there's a land coordinate to that 100 by 100 foot square. If you purchase it, you now have rights to the digital domain of that 100 by 100 foot square, 100 meter square. Why would you want that though? Right? Augmented reality. You serve augmented reality experiences into that square, if you can imagine, right? So in that, once I figured out you could do that, I said, what platforms do you do this on? There's 2 main platforms. One platform is called Over. Over actually broke the whole world up into these hexagons. There's a hexagon that covers this room. If I own the hexagon that covers this room, I can serve up augmented reality experiences into it. Then people say, well, if there's other platforms, if you own that hexagon, what if he owns the other, like the square that covers it too? You can do that too. So if I own the hexagon, but you own the square, right? We both own in this space. When I open up my phone with the app that allows me to see everything that's in hexagons, I'm just keeping it at that right now to keep it simple. I'll see all the augmented reality experiences that have been created in that hexagon. But if I open up the other app that allows me to see everything in the square, I'll see everything that's in the square. So as a virtual real estate investor, it would behoove you, especially if you're working with clients, to own the real estate in both platforms. It's very likened to, I need to have your digital presence in Instagram and on Facebook. I don't say just advertise on Facebook. I say advertise on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Virtual real estate companies are the ones that sell it are exactly the same. They're just lenses on the earth, right? And ultimately, the vision for that is we'll live in a time where you'll just have the apps on your phone naturally. And you'll see a sign and be like, oh, you open your phone, you say, okay, I can see everything in this layer because I have that app, the Over app or the Super World app.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So once I figured that out, our company, we specialize in virtual real estate acquisitions and activations. So we acquire the land and we activate it. In other words, we put experiences in it.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that explain it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But it's it's so beautiful because like in Superworld, one of the main platforms, and it just got picked up by Horowitz, that group, the actual investors.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
we're about to see them get some momentum.
so Indecent Horowitz with Ben Horowitz,
Yeah.
they bought it. Oh wow.
Yeah, well, they invested in
They
it
invested in
because
it.
they believe in it because
Wow.
they know it's the new medium. It's the spatial web. We're going from screens to things, spatial web, right? So if that's the case, you want to start owning the servers where that stuff lives. Let's not call it a piece of real estate. Let's call it a server.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And if I have the server that covers this space, I can serve things into the space. You see?
Let me ask you this question. Now, because for me, I go into the one thing I've always appreciated about you, Vince, is I'm like, hey, we get around to, I'm like, okay, where are things going? And then it's like, and then, you're like you usually are very much so, like, I'm an early adopter. You're like an early adopter. Vince, you'll be in stuff. I'm like, man, what in the world is that? I'm like,
Super
nah.
rich.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, I'm going to have to wait on that one, Chief.
Yeah,
I don't
super
know what we're doing. But I guess the question I would say is this. So people think about, man, what should I do? Like, when do you think it really becomes where, how, you remember the internet is right around like, I guess we say like, it was like 2000. I mean, internet, we were doing it, right? I remember going to a computer lab, right? My freshman year in college. That's old land. Freshman year of college, I'm at the University of Tulsa. I'm in the computer lab, right? Doing the thing. Then, it started getting more and more, on laptops, whatever, you started to have. When do you think this becomes more like mainstream? You know what I mean? Because some people are like, oh, that's great and all, but normally most humans will just accept it when it becomes more mainstream. When again, as best you can, when do you forecast that being the case?
I say it about the next 5 years. I say 5 years, right? You're going to see it. You're going to experience it. You experienced it with Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
It was like, a rush of it, a wave of it. But the challenge with Pokemon Go, and this is where these other platforms become important, right? So let me explain. If you have Pokemon Go, which is a game in its own ecosystem, you download Pokemon Go on your phone and you can see the augmented realities that Pokemon Go is putting into the world.
Yep.
Very simple to understand that, right? But the problem with that is you can only see Pokemon Go stuff. You can't see anything from anybody else that would create anything that would go in a Pokemon world. It's a closed ecosystem. What these platforms are doing, they're saying, we're just going to be the platform. You create the world you want. So it becomes the decentralized version of that. So these platforms are the platform for everything else. So you got to think about marketing and advertising companies, right? So
That's what I was thinking about when you were talking about the real estate.
So what we're doing now is we're drafting up letters now, going out to marketing and advertising and wanting to be their partner. Like we're the augmented layer partner. Just like you would have a billboard company.
Yeah.
We have space.
Yeah.
So like we own all of Clayman. This is crazy. We own all of Clayman Plaza downtown. We own all of Railroad Park. We own.
So once people start creating content in those spaces, you'll be selling the advertising in those spaces.
I'll be
to go with
selling.
it.
Like so, for instance, I could go to any marketing company right now and be like, "What client do you have that would want to actually put their content in Railroad Square as people walking around on First Friday and do something dope?" Right? I could put cornhole and everything out there, digital out there if we wanted to, like all branded content.
Yeah.
I could gamify the whole space, right, under a brand if I wanted to.
Wow.
I could put a big Nike symbol above all of Railroad Park and create Nike Park in the augmented layer.
The cool thing, kind of a stepping stone to that, and this is where what I need my feeble brain to get there. Is my kids are into Minecraft. And so it's just amazing the way some of the kids I guess kids, teenagers that they watch on YouTube who have created their own cities and kingdoms in Minecraft, and I'll sit there, she wants me to watch it with them. And so like, I'll sit down and watch it. Now I know all of it. Like I know the whole town. I know the characters. And it's like almost like a soap opera now. Like they've got all their, and it's, but now you take that, to me, that's like a step towards, because Minecraft creates the platform, and then people create
on it.
Yep. Yeah.
And so this would be just
It's the exact
next step.
It's that for everything else.
Right.
Yeah, and
So a very practical way to look at it, though,
Yep.
like if Tallahassee, imagine this, and this is how you notice how my brain works, right? I imagine scenarios that would actually like bring it in, right? Imagine watching the news one night and they say news at 6, right? Tallahassee's the very first fully augmented city, right? When you and then the story comes on and you see somebody walking through downtown Tallahassee, and they see a complete layer of information, insight, landmarks, everything in the augmented layer. We can absolutely do that. That's possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you start going to other cities, you're like, you don't have to go in there and be clueless. You just open up the lens and you can see everything that you need to see, all the information that you need to see, and interact with that.
Yeah. And so here's the thing
Does that make sense?
it really does. And I think when I knew this was going to be a thing, when I knew how big it was going to be, is my son was playing Fortnite. And when he's playing Fortnite, and seriously, he's playing Fortnite. He plays all the time, and he's doing all stuff. And all of a sudden, I looked. I'm like, he's something. There's a Travis Scott concert, and so and literally, it's like a full. Travis Scott, his thing in Fortnite looks like him. He's doing his whole thing. But then this is what got me. I'm going in. I'm looking. I'm like, and he's like in Fortnite. And I look, and there's a Morgan and Morgan like billboard
Really?
in Fortnite advertising Morgan. I'm like, when I saw that, I'm like, because at the end of the day, most people, you can be as creative as you want, but what NFTs, all this stuff has done, and all this stuff is like, hey, when you can start making money,
Commerce.
that's when the game changes. And so when I saw Morgan and Morgan in there, I'm like, oh, this is how this is about to change everything, because he's sitting there. I mean, my son has no idea what Morgan and Morgan is, but it's being planted in there. And then you start building. And I'm like, and it's already, the world's already like, when these kids play games, I still play NBA 2K. So I play 2K. I'm like, oh, I get it, because I go in 2K, I buy like, oh, if I have my player, he has this, this jersey, these shoes, this guy, and you're just so used to spending that and doing it, and everyone's like, oh, that's crazy. But now when you get, and again, now that I've had the experience of tech and you're immersive in it, it's like, oh, when you're immersed in it, you realize how you can get lost in it, and it does become like there. I mean, there's always dangerousness, but there is a second thing that's there, and that's where I realized, oh, this is when this is here to stay. This is where it's going to go, and now it's just like, and all COVID did is, I've been saying this, and everybody's been saying this, that COVID just accelerated everything.
Yeah.
Now tech is accelerated.
And the only thing I was going to say, when I bring up the risk, I'm not necessarily saying that it is risky in itself. It's the behavior that people who are speculating maybe without understanding, because that's what happened with the first internet bubble. Is people go to these venture fund people and say, hey, I've got this website, it's going to do this, this, this. They would overspend. They'd put all this money into it. There was no way it was going to have any return on investment. And you had all of those situations times 1,000 or 100,000, and then everything crashed. That's are the people who, I guess, the people who are investing in this that are just chasing, that really don't even get it.
They're gonna fall off.
That's why I'm.
They're going to fall off. The thing about it is, it's just like any other market. Like, they're going to fall off. I think one thing. I'll tell you two pieces of that narrative. The very first piece is when we first got into virtual real estate, we knew what it was, right? We see it as the platform. We can understand that, but we're also diluted in our thinking by just the idea of NFTs. So
yeah,
we're
that's
thinking,
it. That's it.
You see, so it's like by the coordinates, like, so for instance, we own Adobe headquarters. What's the experiential value of Adobe? But we didn't even have the word experiential value at that time. We actually created that word to help us define why you would buy a piece of virtual real estate. Because we bought a whole bunch of, I would probably say about $20,000 worth of virtual real estate that now it's going to be hard to prove its value. Why? Because it doesn't have any experiential value. People aren't walking around Adobe headquarters. Unless we do some kind of little sweet deal or like partnership with Adobe, or just sell their real estate back to them. That could happen. But when we started thinking about the true utility of it, and we start to really refine, because like we're in the position now where we have to be thought leaders in the space and shape and carve outside of all the noise and weirdo stuff that's going on right now, and say, what does this really mean? So once we really start to dial it in, this might like blow your mind. We actually purchased all of Ybor City. Everywhere everybody walks and moves around in Ybor City, we own all of that real estate.
Wow.
You see, because we know now the experiential value is high. You got people walking around, riding on the trolley, being able to see things, landmarks, all that. We could illuminate that whole thing. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what doesn't make sense is Adobe headquarters.
Yeah.
You see?
Yep.
So there's that. But you're going to have a bunch of that going on right now. Like a lot of that is going on right now. And all of that stuff, all of that hype is going to die down.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But then what's going to bubble up to the top are the ones who truly thought about it and understood the economic value, the utility, working with advertising and marketing companies, working with Nike. We own the full front end of like the stadium, that full greenway.
Yeah.
We own that and the unconquered statue. That's a conversation with Nike. And we can do a whole Nike experience in front of the stadium before the game.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that does. And I think,
Experiential value.
yeah, and I think as we close, I think more than anything else, I agree. You know, like how the internet happened, there was a burst, right? I think what everybody's going to do, there's tons of cash in the market. People are just buying stuff because they got cash.
Yeah.
But at some point that ends, and then what's going to happen is that people are going to get caught out there because they're going to see, oh, let's go out there, like you said, and just speculate, buy dumb stuff, and then they're going to get caught, and it's going to everybody. And then what's going to happen, just like the internet, see this internet thing or see NFTs was dumb. It wasn't that. It's not that. It's just this was just the beginning iteration of it, and now the big thing. So I tell people, anybody, no matter what you're doing, how are you thinking about this from a smart contract standpoint? You know what I'm saying? How do you think about this from a smart contract standpoint? Because, I mean, I think about how this is going to deal with book deals for people. If you have a huge following, the way this is going, you don't need anymore to go through a publisher because it's like now, if all of a sudden you just imagine, Ira, you know, if you get the, you know, we're using our Coach Bowden, you get the last memoirs of Coach Bowden. You could say, hey, I got this digital, I'm selling this amount, I'm doing this, and you could do, if you buy this, you get, somebody could buy it and buy this one golden Coach Bowden memoir book, 5%, you can say, this person gets a 5% royalty on the book, they'll own that book, this is the only thing there, you have royalties tied to it. On top of that, there's all these other things that come with it. See, that's when I think it starts to now takes it to a whole different level. And I think this is where, and why there's always a fight is because now it's taking out of this middleman. Now it's just direct.
Well,
and
that's
the powerful
all
part
the
of it.
stuff that, like, especially in athletes,
Yes.
the space
Yes.
we're in, all the memorabilia they have.
Come on.
You know, the shoes they wore in this game, the gloves they wore in that game, and so now you can tie those things.
Yeah,
to,
I mean, you're seeing with like NBA Top Shot right now, right? Top Shot, where it's like, man, you're like, which just sounds dumb. It's like, man, why are people just buying like 5-second clips of like, you know, this epic play? Well, it's now got, you know, I mean, I don't even know all the stuff how it works, but there's people in their crypto wallet, they own like, you know, it could be from, LeBron, it could be the Ray Allen 3 when Chris Bosh gets it and throw it, and man, and it all gets bitten, and you go out there and sell that, and you're like, well, everybody has that, but you don't have it in this digital space in this world, which again has been this whole thing where, it's just it's a very interesting concept, but the utility of it is what's powerful.
Utility, and even that though, like if you think about like Top Shots, why the heck would you buy a basketball card?
Yeah.
But now the thing about it is the utility of it is like if I have that digital asset, which ultimately was owned by the NBA, you got to think that's footage that's owned by the NBA.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're selling it to you as an NFT. That's valuable.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think Mark Cuban, those guys are actually, it's really interesting watching Mark Cuban. I'm telling you, Mark Cuban, and why he's really good when he's positioning himself, I'm like, with where this world's going to go, you're going to start seeing something in free agency. That's one of the things I guarantee you, because he's heavy into it, he's going to start positioning these guys too. It's not going to be like, hey, you come here, just the NBA contract's what it is. But like, no, you come here, here's what we're going to do with you. Yeah. Like, you know, he's already talking about next year, like the first, first game, they're doing like NFT, like the tickets.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, now I'm telling you, it's going to get to a point to where you may not need, where they're probably not, you're going to have physical tickets anymore. You're going to be, you have this crypto wallet. Hey, and it's like, you remember, like, I just imagine me and you going to, to an NBA Finals game this year, and, you got this, you used to save the ticket, right?
Yeah.
Now you're like, we got the first ever NBA Finals, like, digital NFT for the ticket. Like, we have, so like now we're saving that. Now we pass it on to our kids, and my dad back in. It's just like if all of a sudden, if our parents pass us down like the 1927 World Series ticket, you're like, you can sell that for some decent money. Yeah. It's just now going to be that in a digital space. And I just think it's so hard for our world to realize, like, where it's going. But like I always will tell everybody, there's always a dark side to anything because humans are involved. There's always a dark side. It's like same thing happened with radio. You got radio, oh, the world's ending. We get TV, the world's ending. The internet, the world's it's always that. Every generation, the world's going to end because of new iteration of technology. Versus, I think that the key is that can you embrace it? Can you decipher good, bad, use wisdom, be thought leaders, and saying, hey, because people are going to absolutely leverage it. It's like people with crypto. Yes, of course, they're going to use it on the black market to buy weapons and things like that. But people use everything to do that because it's just human beings. But I think there's a way we can really do it to leverage it for even incredible things. Can you imagine now the level of education out in here, like the kids can actually get? My daughter put on the Oculus, and she was able to go sit watching a ballet class. And she just turned her head left and right, and you're like literally in the class. I mean, you can learn from some of the best people in the world and not have to be there. And it's so real. That's why somebody's like, I would never go to a concert like that. So I put that Oculus on, and I was sitting there, I'm like, oh, 100%. 100%. If I couldn't get to it's so true. We put it on because the sound, I was like, if Jay-Z was in Milan, Italy, and I couldn't get there, 100%, you better believe this. And they sold a $200 ticket, I would be right there in my room looking like a crazy person with that thing on. Get that dirt off your shoulder. Like I'm in there by myself, rocking out by myself, looking like somebody put me on the film. They're like, yo, this dude's crazy. But I'm telling you, you're in it, it feels so real. But I think that's such that's such a thing. That's such a thing where Adrian, what you do of all of a sudden, like, man, I can go literally do this in an interview style with someone, instead of us like living Zoom. Which, Zoom, that's why you get Zoom fatigue. But when you put this on, you're like, oh, I'm here. I can hear it. I'm in it. It's immersive. I just think it's incredible tech moving forward.
I think the thing we bound this, let me bring it all home for you, because I think you have a very unique situation as it pertains to the world of NFTs.
He's about to make you money, trust me.
Let's just say you write, no, seriously, you write this story, the Bowden story, right? You do that piece, and it's an exclusive piece that only you got, and you've only got 5 of them that you're going to sell as NFTs. You start thinking about the utility, so you connect with FSU. You connect with them to let them put into the smart contract that if you've got this, you come into every game moving forward for the next 10 years because you own that NFT.
Yeah.
It's bundled in.
Right.
So it's like not only, and then you also give them some piece of physical keepsake. Right? Maybe it's a glass structure with him on the inside with you in the interview, like a one-of-a-kind photo that was taken during the moment that's etched in something. And when I buy it for $50,000, $100,000, is because one, I was a fan, for real.
Yeah.
Right? And then when people come to my house and they see that thing, they're like, oh, wow. And then they hit the QR code on it and it gives them a little bit of an experience. But I know because I own the NFT, I'm going to every game for the next 10 years for free. I've got this thing that I can enjoy and I can pass it down as an heirloom.
Right.
That's an NFT.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the utility and all that's digital.
Man, I
you could just straight set that up. Just work and say, and then you go on the news and release FSU's very first NFT in collaboration with you, and it's this.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden the world's like, oh, that's another example of how you do an NFT. Yeah.
All right, I got you. All right, we already there. All right, I'm over here writing stuff down. We there, Ira. Hey, Ira, we there. Hey,
taking notes
hey, we over here, Ira. All of a sudden, we got black. Hey, we got black about gold desk after we finish this. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we got platinum desk over here, Ira. You know what I'm saying? Hey. Anyway, well, Vince, man, hey, we really, really appreciate you being on here. I mean, again, seriously, man, incredibly informative, very helpful. I would encourage you guys out there. Again, what we want to do here. This is an authentic conversation. Is what we do. This is all about authentic conversation. And that's what this was about, man, what this world looks like, kind of a behind-the-scenes thing, a very practical, I love about Vince, a very practical way that you can look at it from a standpoint of being involved. And so, man, we really appreciate you being here today.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Well, guys, hey, man, we thank you guys so much for being here. Until next time, we will see you soon on The Black and Mild.